Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we are actually celebrating the fact that we are reopening one of our most popular challenges, and that's the 7-day protein challenge, where you nail your protein goals in 7 days or less. Most people, it ends up being way less. So if you've had some troubles hitting your protein, or you've kind of been beating around the bush about it, or maybe not even trying it all, this will be the perfect thing to catapult you in being able to nail your protein goals. So one of the things about protein is that it's so essential for every single part of the journey. And not only that, but the needs actually increase. So your protein needs increase as you age. They increase when you're in a fat loss phase. They increase when you're trying to maintain your muscle mass. So there's just so many benefits to protein when it comes to building your metabolism up and keeping it high and revved. So that's the reason why we host this protein challenge, to be able to help you to, because some people just kind of go around and around in circles trying to nail this thing and never quite get it, but they think it's not that big of a deal. So inside of the challenge, I'm going to be sharing all the reasons why this is something that you really do need to be focusing on. And I'm going to be giving you so many tips for helping you to not only reach your protein goals during the challenge, but to be able to keep it going afterwards. So today I'm actually digging into the archives to bring out one of the top tips that has helped not only me, but so many of my clients and the EM2WL fam to be able to hack this protein macronutrient. So if you've been having some trouble hitting your protein goals, I think you will love this tip. And it's also one of the ones that are going to be included. You're going to be learning so many things just like this to help you to nail that protein goal so much more effortlessly, so that you can really finally nail that protein down and get to where you need to be in your fat loss journey. So go ahead and check this out. And even though the video is from the archives, let me tell you, this stuff never gets old. Hey guys, Kiki. I wanted to continue our conversation about balancing out your meals and your macros with a tip that I tell a lot of my clients. And again, this is another one that when I backtrack in my own journey, I felt was another game changer for me. So this is, it's balancing out your macros and your meals pretty much literally in the beginning. And so what this is, this tip will help you if you are trying to transition into intuitive eating. This is a really good tip to use. Or a lot of vegetarians and vegans can try this tip, because I do have a lot of the same recommendations for my clients, whether they are omnivore, vegetarian, vegan. If I require a certain protein amount, like the protein amount doesn't change for the goal based on whether or not you eat meat. So a tip that I use often for my vegan and vegetarian clients, and like I said, for those who maybe they can't always get to their computer to log, maybe they don't have the app, and it's just a way of kind of making sure that you're going to hit your macros by the end of the day. And so what I suggest is trying to make sure that, or aim for, your meals to be even in your protein to carb ratios for each meal. And the reason why I say that this helps if you're trying to be more intuitive, or if you are vegan or vegetarian and having troubles hitting, the amount of protein, like a gram per pound of body weight, is that sometimes when we're just looking at the actual grams of protein that a specific item has, and again, I'm using protein as an example only because that's the most common one that it seems that people are having trouble with hitting. You could still adapt these if it's another macro for you. But what we've found pretty much across the board is that for most people, if they hit their protein goals, the rest kind of falls into place, and it doesn't really matter as much, and you don't have to really stress out over, oh, I had too much carbs or too much fat or whatever, because the rest kind of balances itself out. So this is a tip for trying to balance that out, and that's, like I said, is making sure that the carbs and the protein are equal at each meal. And so if you are looking at a specific item, like if you're vegetarian, maybe you're eating, bagels or beans or different things that are high protein content, even, you know, sometimes nut butters and things like that, or a high protein cereal, you know. And this tip obviously is for everyone. You may eat something that you look at the protein amount and you think that is high in protein. And so because of that, you may eat a lot of it, but then at the end of the day or week or whatever, your macros are still off. And so it's kind of like you feel like I'm eating protein every meal and I'm eating tons of protein and I feel so full. And that's especially if you're eating something with a lot of fiber and a lot of protein together, but maybe the amount of carbs that it has is much higher than the amount of protein. So for like in beans or in like bagels, you know, because you may eat a bagel that's 10 to 15 grams of protein, but if it also has 60 grams of carbs, then that's really going to skew your macros at the end of the day. So like I said, it's a tip just to bring awareness to how your ratios are all throughout the day. And if you aim for equal amounts of protein and carbs at every meal, what you'll find is that most of us will still tend to, you know, be slightly off. So you may have 10 grams of protein and, you know, 13 to 15 grams of carbs, or, you know, 20 grams of protein and 25 grams of carbs. So what happens is when you're aiming to at least be as close as possible, is that by the end of the day, you find out that you almost like naturally, and most people that have tried this, I've done this with my husband, I've done this with a lot of clients, what they find is that you almost like automatically fall into 40-30-30. And it's one of those things that when you're trying to hit 40-30-30, it's like you cannot hit it to save your life. But when you are aiming for equal, you kind of get there anyways, because you still end up eating a little bit more carb than your protein anyways. So you just want to try to get it as close as possible. You know, you don't want it to be probably more than 10-15 grams off, because that's going to throw you too much at the end of the day. But if you aim for them to be even as often as possible, that's going to help you out at the end of the day, because then you see that you're eating your protein and you see what it is in ratio to the carb. Another reason why this is so helpful, if you are a carbaholic like me, like I mentioned in the previous video, how I talked about just how I like carbs in the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. Well, if you are that type of person and you're looking to kind of balance things out altogether, this tip will help you so much. And I didn't realize that I did this, or that I needed to explain it a little bit more, until I posted, I guess a couple months ago, or all the time. I'm always posting pictures of like scones and bacon, or like cinnamon rolls and bacon, or something like that. And I said something one day about how, you know, like I eat bacon so that I can eat cinnamon rolls or something like that. And my girl Tamisha, Fit with Diva, I think is her IG name, she asked, like, I don't get it, how does eating bacon help you to eat cinnamon rolls? And so I thought about it, and I guess that is something that I should explain. And that's exactly what I mean by it, is that, you know, a cinnamon roll is gonna have, you know, I could easily look at it and say, oh, well, it has 5 grams of protein, so it's all good. But a cinnamon roll will probably have like 30, 40, 50 grams, depending on like the icing and everything else that you're putting on it, grams of carbs. So if I can add protein to that, you know, something that's protein only, then it can kind of even things out a bit, instead of it being like so high in carb and so low in protein. So that's what I'll usually do is, you know, it's really about getting away from, like, if you're like a big carb for breakfast person like me, it's about getting away from the like bakery mentality, where it's just like, oh, coffee and a bagel, or coffee and a muffin, or something like that, coffee and a cinnamon roll, some kind of like Danish or pastry, and that's it. And it's getting back to balancing that, you know, kind of, you know, the old school where you have a little bit of everything. So if you're gonna have something really bready, carby, whatever, for breakfast, then you want to try to add something to it that is going to be more on the protein side. So for instance, if I have a bagel or an English muffin or any kind of, you know, Danish or pastry or cinnamon roll or scones or all those things that I'm always posting on Instagram, because I love to bake, and I love wheat. I'm a wheat girl, so I like baking. I like baked goods. So what I like, you know, naturally is to just have those, to just have the coffee and that pastry. But what I found is that if I add an egg and some bacon, or egg and some sausage, or you know, if I'm like out on vacation, maybe having, you know, a latte instead of just coffee, if the milk increases the protein a little bit. So just little things like that to help to try to even that out. And that's the mental gauge that I use, so that whether I am logging my food or not, I can kind of mentally gauge whether or not that meal is going to work for me overall. So I know that if I have something that's 25 to 30 grams of carbs for whatever the meal is, then I'm going to look to do that same amount in like protein or meat or something. So like I said, for me, it's meat because I'm a meat eater. If you're a vegetarian, then that's something that when you're purchasing your items that you feel are your high protein items to look for in your labels. So look for the items that kind of close in on that ratio. So if you're doing like a meat substitute vegetarian burger or breakfast patty or something like that, because most of your things are already going to have carbs in them because of the vegetable factor, just try to make it even. You know, there's a lot of, I think like Morningstar Farms, you know, is maybe like 10 grams of protein or something like that. So things like that are stuff that you can add to your bready things. Or if you're not even eating bread, but you're having troubles hitting your protein because you're vegetarian or whatever, just having those will help to keep you on track. So just looking at the ratios of the things that you're eating, and with that perspective, if you could keep it 50-50-ish as much as possible, you're gonna find that you're hitting your goals without even trying after a while, you know. And a lot of clients find this out, you know, after a few months, you know, with me, they are, you know, they start noticing, because we're always, you know, we're checking every week what they're hitting with their macros, because we check on a weekly basis, not just a daily, because a day's averages can fool you and can make you think you're doing better than you are. So we check based on the week factor. And when they start really getting into that groove and start making sure of, you know, adding whatever they're missing to balance it out, it really works well. And like I said, it works well for you if you're eating out too, you know, because you could start kind of making those decisions of, okay, if I'm gonna have the burger and the fries, you know, maybe take the bun off, or, you know, or maybe not have the fries if they're not that good or something like that. So you can start kind of thinking about it in that aspect of looking at everything that you're eating and say, okay, what's going to balance that out? If you're having the soda, then something needs to balance that out, because that's all carb. You know, not that I recommend that you eat, because I mean, drinking soda is just like, it's just wasted calories. But I mean, if you love it and you can't do without it, then you need to find something to balance that out. That means don't have the soda and the bread basket and like pasta with no meat on it and, you know, whatever. So I mean, it's just like you have to see how that's all adding up. And if you do want all those things, then what can you bring to the party that at least increases the protein a little bit? And like I said, if you're a meat eater, then the option's kind of easy. It's just add meat. So if it's breakfast, just add eggs or bacon to whatever you're doing, or add sausage or a cup of milk, or, you know, something like that. But it's going to help you when you're thinking of like your cereals, you know, because if you go and you get, you know, kashi or whatever, and you say like, oh, it's as much protein as an egg. Yeah, but it has a lot more carbs in the egg. So that's something that you have to take into consideration, because you could have just had the egg and some toast, you know, and had the same amount, or maybe even better, depending on if you have some kind of, you know, low carb toast, you know. So that is just another tip that I use. Let me know if you think that that is helpful to you, but I do encourage you to try it. Try it out for a day. If you're logging your food, just try checking, and when you put something in, just see if the ratios match. If you have however many grams of carbs, try to match that in protein. And the more that you get used to doing that, and the more times you do make it match, because like I said, it won't always happen, but the more times you can make it match, the more you will start to see that the protein ratio really increase, and you'll start hitting your goals without even trying. So if you guys have any more questions, or if you're doing something that you think that the newbies can benefit from, leave a comment, let them know, you know, what are the things that you're doing without even thinking, because we're doing it and we're just like not even thinking that it's a big deal, and they're looking at us like, I don't get it. How is everybody eating this much protein or getting in this much fiber or hitting their macros and not going, you know, way over in fat or whatever? They have these questions, and we're doing these things without even thinking. So if you have a tip, write it down. If you have a question, let me know. Okay guys, I know that you enjoyed that tip, and I am just gonna assume that it is already changing the way that you are viewing your protein and how you're gonna hit it. So I'm gonna throw the link down in the description below so that you can make sure that you join us for the challenge. I'm gonna be sharing more tips like this. And the best thing about this is, just as you saw from this video, even though this video was from the archives, it doesn't matter, because when you are on the permanent fat loss journey, when you are on a sustainable, lifelong journey, the stuff never gets old. I've been saying the same things for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And the thing is that because they are such solid principles, such basic principles, but when you just focus on them, the rest of it comes together. So that's the thing that I love most about when you focus on protein, is that the other two macros kind of fall in line naturally. So that is what you will be getting from this challenge. Make sure you sign up to join us. We will be all starting together next Sunday, not this coming Sunday, but next Sunday. And I'll be there with you every step of the way. We'll be in the Facebook group, going live, having the chats. You'll also be getting daily emails from me to help walk you through the journey. So whether you're in the Facebook group or not, you will still be able to have access to all of the videos and replays and everything that comes along with the challenge. So make sure you get signed up, start looking through your shopping list, and getting ready to dive on in. And I will see you guys next Thursday.